Gaming PC circuit played on HP live in Anaheim. I'm Keith Igo Tran, joined by Jared P.L. Colston, as we're going to get right into the action, as we do have Yogg, Doja, and Wooman, of course, being the RLS of Fnatic versus Fnatic, Soda, and Reckful, the RMP of Complexity.
All right, so big RLS versus RMP match. You know, we've seen this happen in the past, but you know, it's hard to say whether this team of Fnatic seems confident enough to win against an RMP right now.
This is going to be another one of those great series. And also, if you haven't checked it out, make sure you check out the True HD stream that is available for this weekend. For $10, you can catch all the matches and 1.7 gigabyte down, 480p, True HD, of course, with that rewind functionality where you can catch those little things you may miss while watching these games. And, of course, one of the teams I always have bring up, Button Bashers. Watch some of the openers those guys do. Check out the HD stream. But not only that, we will be doing a giveaway to the people that do purchase the HD stream. We'll be giving away 5 of the little KT pets and also 5 of the Pandaren Monk pets, which are the 2 new things offered at the Blizzard store. But the gates are rising. Let's get into the game.
All right, Fnatic, Doja on healer, of course, playing that Resto Shaman that he loves. And here we go with the RLS versus RMP.
And now looking for these 2 rogues to really get things started. Wooman already spreading out, taking over to the side, and he's going to open up onto Soda, immediately falling with a fan of knives, popping out Reckful. So great start already for Fnatic. Now Doja caught into a blind, Yogg in that deep freeze. It looks like Doja's actually going to try to sit through this blind, which would be huge in this matchup. But he's going to be sapped immediately after, though. Great job.
Wooman tried to pop him with that fan of knives, but he didn't get him. Soda down to half right now, has to pain suppress himself already to what can happen on this map, but there goes his line of sight. He's going to divine him out of the middle of nowhere, and I can't believe they're not stopping that.
So Soda picking his team back up, but so far I don't believe Doja actually had to trinket any of that. Wow, and going to go ahead and use NS in that situation as he saw the damage coming. Big fear from Soda onto him. That will get devoured. Great job right there.
Yogg's doing amazing with the devours. He got an instant devour on a poly right there, but they're going to swap onto Doja, who already used NS. He's down to half right now. It's going to take a ton of damage right now. Not looking good.
Doja down to 2,000 HP, trying to pick himself up. The Lessing healer waves are coming in as even Soda will throw the penance into him. But look at Soda, though, getting a little low, but Doja has to get out of there. 2,000 HP, and there's that Fire Blast to drop Doja. Reckful in trouble, though. Fear onto Soda. Reckful down to 6,000 HP, 2,600. Down goes Reckful for a counter kill. So we're going to have Priest Mage versus Lock Rogue. We saw these teams get into some 1v1 situations earlier in the series, but Wooman in a lot of trouble, down to 7,000 HP, getting very low and not a lot of damage, rolling onto Complexity. We do see a cheap kidney shot onto Soda, but there's no way for Wooman to get picked back up.
He's trying everything he can. We saw that great gouge onto Fnatic, but he's going to die, and Yogg, I don't know if he'll be able to pull this one off.
It would be very impressive, but look and note that Soda out of mana. In comes that Hymn of Hope. It will be spell-like, but I have a little bit of mana to work with as long as it does not fade before this fear wears out. But Yogg caught in that deep freeze and a lot of damage coming in from Fnatic, and things not looking good for Yogg.
Not at all. Down to no hit points. Playing right to the end. Summons that Voidwalker, summons the shield right after, which was spell stolen by Fnatic.
So that first round being very close, but the winners will be Complexity toppling over the team of Fnatic.
Doja was taking a lot of damage, and he uses NS very early on Yogg, which was actually, I don't believe it crit, since it was only 6,400.
So a little bit of a, what is the actual percent chance to crit on NS with everything?
Tidal waves and everything, it's pretty high.
Yeah.
In that kind of game.
A little bit of a rough chance there for Doja, but honestly, he was in a very bad position no matter what.
Yeah, he was. And what we need this team, what we're looking for this team to do, ROV is a rough map no matter what, because you're always in line of sight of everything. Well, looks like it's going to be Dalaran Arena. We have our other BlizzCam right there behind it. And there we go, Dalaran Arena. They are in, so we're going to join that game. Again, this is the second round of the match between Fnatic and Complexity.
So in that last game, Complexity with a pretty amazing opener, Doja being controlled very well by Reckful, and Wooman even trying to get over and fanatize Reckful out. Just, I'm honestly not sure exactly how he didn't get the pop. He might have, but Complexity really taking the momentum from the beginning, and Doja having to use NS. Now, one thing I wonder, do you think that NS he used on Yogg whenever he's caught in that kidney was maybe a little premature?
It may have been. He knew the damage was coming, but, you know, they saw that he used the NS and they got on him right away.
Okay, so these two rogues have started. Now, one thing to note is a difference in energy. Of course, it can come down to a lot of things. Glyph, 4-piece PvP, but WoW running 120 energy, Wreckful running 130.
So Soda, that last match, doing a great job. I mean, that Divine Him out in the middle of nowhere, just by himself without it getting interrupted, topped his team right off, and they were able to win.
Gates have open. This is game 2 between Fnatic and Complexity, and we'll get you a clear shot of this game in just a moment. And now we see WoW kind of taking the long route as he goes back to the other side of the arena. And there we go. He's going to get in and immediately get onto Soda. Early bloodlust right away. Y'all caught into that deep freeze. Is able to get out of that, but he's still taking a lot of damage as he's caught right in the middle of the arena. Getting a fear onto Wreckful, but still not a lot of damage coming out just yet. Going to get a UA out onto Wreckful and Soda, so a little bit of damage coming out from Yogg in the beginning of this game.
Wreckful vanishes to get on Doja again. Actually has Yogg targeted, though. Pain suppression onto Wreckful right now, and they switched it up and turned onto Soda. Death Coil down to half health right now. Self-penancing, which I think shocked it right at the very end, and there's a Divine Him.
And now you see Woundman actually caught in that kidney shot, and Soda able to pick himself up on that bottom level, channeling that Divine Him in a big fear onto Wreckful. And it looks like they're going to continue the pressure onto Soda. There's that kidney shot, 13,000 HP. Only a Curse of Agony ticking from Yogg, though, at this point. So it's really going to be up to Woundman to put down Soda in this situation. Yogg sitting around 14k HP, so all the pressure on Complexity, both Wreckful and Soda getting very low. Wreckful dropping down to 9,000 HP, but a big fear coming in from Soda on both Doja and WoundMan. And WoundMan actually caught into a poly afterwards. Great job by Venruki.
Yogg is at half right now in a kidney shot, but Doja, look at how low he is on mana. There goes the NS, which did get a heal. I don't think that one crit either. WoundMan is polyed right now, plus a Hex onto Wreckful. Soda getting himself finally topped off. That Earth Shield on Yogg is helping him, plus that Mana Tide in the center. Look at Doja's mana head right back up.
Yeah, it looks like he did get a full tide off there. Yogg down to 10,000 HP, but a fear onto Doja. Yogg going to be in a very bad position here, and Doja no way to break that fear. But look at Wreckful caught in a kidney with dots up, and down goes Wreckful, and it looks like that Fnatic will turn this around and pick up the win on Dalaran.
And that was a big play by Yogg right there. Great fear onto Soda. Put him out of position, out of range, and in a fear, so he couldn't heal him.
And now taking a quick note of the damage breakdown, and remember, the team of Fnatic is working against Power Word Shield, so their damage is mitigated a lot and not showing up in these numbers, but Yogg, 87,000 damage, WoundMan, 62,000. And now also looking at the highest damage done, and actually that entire time, WoundMan's biggest crit, 3,500 compared to Wreckful's 4,200, so really looks like that Wreckful's putting out the bigger numbers. So after 2 games, tied up at 1-1, and Fnatic looks like they're going to stay seated, not really get up and talk things over, but on the other side, Complexity standing up. They are going to be given a few minutes to maybe change things up, and honestly will not see either of these teams change comps. It's going to be the little things, strats, and maybe some gear here and there.
So these teams do have a little while after the second match, but I don't see them switching anything at all.
So again, while we have this little bit of downtime, we will go to the Ask the Cast thread on gotfrag.com under the WoW general discussion. And now we're down to about question 1,288 from Little Veto. He says, in an RMP, what would be the pros and cons for replacing the rogue for a warrior of any spec? And now, one of the big things whenever you talk about an RMP is really a rogue locking a target down and the mage connecting with frostbolts into that kidney shot. It's always been what it's been about, and it's the same thing when you look at rogue lock shaman. Rogue locking down a target and a lock being able to channel into it. Now, when you replace it with the warrior, you do get more offensive pressure, of course, and you have that blade storm with a big burst of damage, but you're really losing the synergy that is RMP, so it's kind of canceling out what the comp has been made to do.
Exactly. It's very hard to keep a target exactly where you want to with a warrior. I mean, definitely the hamstring plays a huge factor into it, but crippling is just massive right now, plus all those stuns to keep them exactly where you want them to.
right down to 1,298. Given the success TSG had with it at BlizzCon, why do you think there aren't any TSG comps at these tourneys?
That's actually interesting. We were talking about that earlier, running that the DK Warrior and then whatever healer they want onto it. And that's a great idea. I mean, if the only way that you're going to counter them is by running plate, but Check 6 has an answer for that.
Yes, they do. And another big thing to note about TSG at BlizzCon, the only comp and the comp that beat them at regionals, that being RMP, they did not have to face a single one as they progressed through the grand finals at BlizzCon. So
that's one of the reasons why you don't see that comp ran exclusively at this tournament. There's a possibility of teams running that if they can grab somebody on a warrior, like for example SKEU, swap out In Flames onto a warrior, which he has played before.
And now we're going down through the thread. Again, a big thank you to all the Euros that have been staying up with us throughout the night. I know it's been a long night for a lot of people, but we do, again, appreciate you participating in the thread. And now, 1312, don't know if this has been asked, but to which degree are macros allowed?
Well, that's actually the admin's discretion, because the first tournament that we were going to go to, like the first WoW tournament ever, I did a lot of research and figured out how to create, how to move the unit frames, how to resize them, how to put in spell alert, things like that, all from using /macro commands. And when we got there, we're like, yeah, that's probably not a good idea. We don't want to get kicked out of the tournament because of this. So it's definitely up to the admin's discretion. You can do a lot with macros. You can basically create add-ons in the game by creating very complex and long macros. So it's all totally up to to Ryan Moore, our tournament director.
And I do see a lot of players, they do use those scripts to actually move their UI around a little bit, which is considered completely legal as far as tournament play does go here at the MLG events. And that's one of the big things that people do have to adjust to, because, I remember whenever esports first started, that it was one of the biggest deals as people trying to adjust from swapping off to their UIs at home to what they had to play at these tournaments.
And, mages had a huge problem to begin with because, every mage relied on that, focus frame, which wasn't even in at the point. The only way to tell if your focus, as everyone knows, if you were targeting your focus, is the target frame was highlighted, and that's it.
And I remember Shamans trying to get into it in the beginning of esports. And that's a rough class to play with no add-ons as it is. But, of course, Blizzard has advanced the actual general UI and made it a little better for Shamans that have been playing in these tournaments. And now this guy's been asking it a lot, but 1324 is asking, do you guys think we'll ever see Blood or Frost DKs in competitive play? And really, the only times we've seen DKs set up have been in PhD and also Shadow Cleave, but both times they're playing Unholy, which just tends to work out better in these two comps. But I do think that people do make Frost work out there. Again, it goes back to top-tier comps versus mid-tier comps. People have not found something that is consistent against the multitude of comps that you will see at a LAN event.
It's very hard to give up Ghoul, period. It's the amount of crowd control that it adds in that split second that it needs to is unreal compared to anything that Frost can do.
And if you're just now joining us, we are in the middle of the series between Fnatic and Complexity. After 2 games, both teams tied up at 1-1, and they are taking this opportunity to talk things over and see if they want to change their strats up or anything about that. But there you go, tied up 1-1, Fnatic and Complexity, 2 teams that still have a chance of making that top 4. They just really have to start fighting for it now.
Just waiting for these teams to get in. They do look like it's kind of dark on the left side of the screen. Complexity's still standing up, I do believe. Talking with each other, trying to figure out exactly what to do against them, because when you split a series like this, it's tough not to second guess yourself.
And people commenting on our lovely faces here in HD, at least it takes us up a notch. But after this setup, we are going to have SK versus EG, Fnatic versus SKEU, Check 6 versus Complexity, SKUS versus SKEU, Check 6 versus Button Bashers, which is going to prove to be a great game, and BHMS versus Complexity. So still plenty of WoW action to come after we do conclude this series.
Yeah, plenty of exciting matches.
And even still, tomorrow morning we're going to start bright and early at 9:30 a.m., talk a little bit about what has happened all day Saturday in this tournament. And then afterwards, we're going to have 6 more round-robin games to play before we're able to progress into the top 4, advancing to the double elimination portion of this tournament, where these players will be playing for a large prize pool.
And that's what everyone's going for. Those top 4 spots that put you into the double elimination, because you have a little bit of room to move around, and you're probably going to, you are going to face someone who you've already faced before at this point, because it is a round-robin tournament, so you have that second chance at them.
And Shadow Priest Rejoice, apparently 3-3, the Savior, inspiring some people to pick things up. And, you know, we were actually talking about in Dallas how it's really the time for people to try new things and try out new comps. And here we are coming into Anaheim, and we have, you know, an RLS and some RMPs, a couple Shadow Cleaves, and then this Beast Rush setup of Check 6. So a little diversity, but still I think the game's going to go even further as we advance into next year.
It is, and since if you're one of these tournament players or prospective tournament players, you always got to do your research with these comps. Run them on live. If you have a chance to get onto any TR, get on there. Just hammer out new comps, try things, because it's not, you know, it's not like live. You can always switch it up a bit. You know, if that hunter isn't working out for you, you can always, you know, toss in something else.
So moving down to 1335, he says, how does bringing in new members into a team affect its veteran members? Well, you can look at it on 2 sides of the story. You have EG replacing 2 members, of course, Azael being the only returning member, and then also Button Bashers replacing Hannibal with Hiran. So you kind of see the success stories back and forth, but it really comes down to team synergy as a whole.
Yes, it does. Team chemistry is so big. We've seen in the past teams yell at each other while they're playing, you know, and that doesn't help at all. You're not going to get any success if you hate your teammates.
1336 asks, what is your favorite arena map?
Blade's Edge before they added the ropes, hands down. But currently,
just so you could watch people fail and fall off as a
over and over. You know, Nagrand's always a great arena. I know people complained about the pillars to begin with. It's great. Those 2 first maps were my favorite, definitely, hands down. I
would have to agree with Nagrand Arena. It's a pretty open playing field. Of course, there's 4 pillars for LOS, and I just think it's a standard map for almost any comp. But then again, you kind of look at the Check 6 side of things, but that's actually the map that SKEU was able to take from them, even with us talking about the pets not really having any way to break them off.
And actually, Blade's Edge is also one of my favorite maps because you can always switch the dynamic of the map based on what your comp is and who you're playing. You know, if you're kind of afraid of not having LOS, you could always go down to the bottom. If your team has a Warlock, it's going to give a great advantage, plus if you play with the Druid. So that map has a lot of terrain changes that can happen mid-game. You know, you can swap sides, you could go down to the bottom if you really need to. I think that maps like Blade's Edge are one of my favorites.
All right, moving down to 1339. He's asking specifically about a comp and how the Will of Forsaken nerf will affect it, but honestly, it's going to affect the game as a whole. You're going to see a lot of comps. Of course, you look at a Roguelock synergy. You throw a Fear, he Will of Forsakens, you know you have a full blind. And it goes back and forth the same way. You throw a blind, he trinkets, you know you have a full Fear because they will share that 45-second internal cooldown.
And that's big. I mean, right now, Undead RMPs, that rogue can stay on his target for a long time.
And now you see on your screen our head admin, Ryan Moore, standing behind Fnatic, trying to get these teams into the arena, so hopefully we'll be queuing up any moment for Game 3, and it looks like there we go. Game 3 between Complexity and Fnatic going to be played on Ruins of Lordaeron.
Seeing a great map selection right now. It is 1-1 coming into the 3rd round of this match, with Fnatic going to be on the top left, I do believe, and Complexity on the top right.
And now Yogg, Wooman, and Doja with that aggressive RLS comp, and this is a classic matchup for them. RMP being around for so long, you have to be pretty comfortable in this situation, but playing against Complexity, you always have to look for those few tricks here and there. And honestly, all the RMPs here have their own diverse style of play.
They do. Oh, looks like they are going to be leaving. Someone may not have joined.
But they should be queuing up right after this, and we'll get back to it. It's a nice mage table, though.
It is. Do you ever try to click them when you're spectating?
I just
do that with the Soul Wells, because you know how it used to ding?
You know what's terrible? Thinking back to earlier arena,
It's not
playing a
letting
mage before tables. Oh man, they should do that to people if they want. Whenever you first do a mage, your first 5v5 game, you should be required to actually get food and water for each one of the members of your team. And that was back before they had strudels and all that actually combined both of them. So it was it was not fun each and every game having to play right down to the wire.
See, another Lordaeron popped, but I don't think that's... Nope, that was the one that they were in. Waiting for them to queue back up. Let's see, Woonman's talking to the admin about something.
So we'll go back to the Ask the Cast thread while we get this figured out. And actually, a lot of people talking about elemental shamans and their style of play. When should you play offensive? Always. If you can cast, something should be hurting. That's pretty much the story of LE Shamans, really shining in a lot of the double caster teams that we're seeing on live. And they really are a strong contender as far as top-tier comps go. And you'll see them all over the place, all through brackets, because the amount of damage that these teams can put out is pretty incredible.
It really is.
1347, Little Votto asking, when will we see, or why don't we see 3v3 comps with 2 melee DPS? And of course, in the past,
we definitely have in the past a lot. It's just the armor pen, for example, was a big deal when it was a static number, not a rating. That was a huge deal in the way that it reduced the armor of cloth casters down to nothing, basically. I mean, it was kind of hard to do that in the tournament type of gear, but you know, you don't have the huge melee DPS. I mean, casters now. I mean, look at the comp that tons of people complain about right now on live. 2 casters.
And really, it seems the standard comp for most people is considered that single caster, usually MS or something like that, melee DPS, and then a healer. That's considered the standard comp. But I mean, we've seen very successful comps that have broken that mold in the past.
Now, what about the rated battlegrounds that are coming up as one of these questions? Pickles86 is asking us, what do you think about the rated battlegrounds?
I'll probably try them out, give it a go. But honestly, it's, one of those things. I still really do enjoy the even playing field of arena and exactly what happens when you zone in the arena, things you can't bring. It's something that's changed through as esports did develop, and it continues to change. But, you go back into your Warsong Gulches and all the things that come along with it. And we were talking about it earlier, but Prot whatever running the flag, and if he's got a ridiculous amount of PvE gear, then things just get really rough whenever you're trying to play these things. And, I do picture people getting into them, and I think it's something that I'll play a little bit of, but still I believe Arena will be my main focus.
I mean, I would love if old school Warsong Gulch came back, with those big grudges and stuff, but, with it being a cross-server battleground, unless the rating system is so well designed, which I hope it is, that you're going to face those teams that are that good all the time. Although how many times are you going to face that same 10 members, when they're not killing dragons or, offline?
And if you're just now joining us, we are waiting for Game 3 between Fnatic and Complexity, both tied up 1-1. And also make sure if you have missed any of the action throughout the weekend, head over to gotfrag.com. And also, if you'd like to ask me and Jared a question, go over to the Ask the Cast thread on the WoW General Discussion forums. Also, MLGpro.com and MMO-champion.com will be keeping up-to-date news throughout the rest of the weekend.
This Ask the Cast thread, like I've said before, we have a ton of great questions.
And actually a pretty good one from 1357. Do they use professions in their bonuses in these tournaments?
No, they don't. There was one tournament where they tried to get maces for warriors. What a terrible idea that was, but they never ended up doing it, so no one has any trade skills whatsoever.
In 1364, we talked about it a little bit earlier, Shadowplay making a comeback in 3-3 with a few of the changes, and I do think it might make a little bit of a comeback. There's a lot of changes going on, and honestly, Shadow Priest overall, I think we're going to see those big names that have been playing it since the beginning, and they'll come out and they're going to find something that works. Now, the question is, will it be a top-tier comp? That is something that's just going to have to wait and see until we actually see it inside the arena.
Yeah, Shadowplay definitely was, so there have been comps where Shadow Priests do work. So, maybe you guys with those hasted dots, what are you going to stack all haste and have them tick, every quarter second or so? It's going to be interesting to see the corruption, how fast those can tick, because, corruption already ticks really fast.
All right, let's go ahead into game 3. This is going to be on Ruins of Lordaeron between Complexity and this team of Fnatic. Gates have open. Now look to these rogues to really start this game. It'll be up to them to really get this opener in the matches going. And now we see it already, an opener onto Soda from Woundman in a very early blind that I didn't see actually go on to anyone, so this may not be good already.
It was actually on Rekful. He Fana-knifed him and immediately blinded him. It was great. Double kidney shots onto Rekful and Doja right now. Doja feared away. Yogg sheep out of the sheep with that Devour. Doja sitting all the way through that fear. Great job there. Woundman cloaking off everything he had right now to stay onto his target, which is going to be Soda, who's down to half. Pain suppression out. Venruki is feared away, but Yogg starting to take some damage with that cheap shot followed by a kidney shot. However, he does have that Earth Shield on him.
Now Soda has nothing left at this point. No trinket for that kidney, but a great deep freeze from Venruki. Now Soda down to 4,000 HP. In comes the Penance trying to pick himself back up.
Woundman sheeped. Venruki is playing like an all-star.
And that control onto Woundman is what is saving Soda's life at this point.
Doja's sitting great position, full health, half a bar of mana, no mana tide used yet. He just got counterspelled though. His heals are all locked out, so look for him to start dropping totem.
And we do hear some mana burns actually coming across. Now Rekful, the target, caught into that kidney shot with a few dots rolling. Now Soda actually did dispel UA during that, so this is not looking good for Rekful. Down to 8,000 HP, does get a Power Word Shield, and now Yogg will portal away out of Trouble's way.
Soda at half health right now, and there we go. Now we see the huge him taking everyone back up. Rekful dismantled right now, but snared from Yogg. Sticking on target though, they are going to switch to Doja, who does have the Earth Shield on himself, seeing the target swap.
And now he is going to try to kite away. We see the CSO onto Yogg, but it looks like Woundman's still going to try to stick onto Rekful. There's a kidney shot, but in comes Penance during that, topping him off. But still a lot of damage coming through. There's that Cloak of Shadows, and now Doja in a lot of trouble as he's feared, and a kidney shot. In comes that Holy Fire as well. Not looking good for Doja, and down goes Doja.
That's what they needed to do, wait until Doja was out of a trinket and was able to burst him down. I mean, Yogg was polyed right then, which was big. There was no way that he could have helped out.
So both Yogg and Woundman doing a lot of damage, but really the all-star of that game, Venruki, with CC on Woundman, saving Soda's life, hands down.
Oh yeah, Soda would have been dead. There was a deep freeze, followed by a poly right away, and Soda lived.
It was very close there for a moment. All right, on game 3, Complexity takes it. That will make the series Complexity 2 over Fnatic 1.
So an exciting series, and today, that's all we've had.
that we have. In some pretty quick games, but you know what can you do? I think Snuts is still filling that series against Check 6. But hey, at least that first game, Blade's Edge, was theirs.
It sure was. All right, we have Ruins of Lordaeron coming up next, and these guys are ready to queue back in. So we're going to get right into the game.
And now, Ruins of Lordaeron, one of those kind of aggressive maps where you have that sarcophagus in the middle, and you really look for the team that plays the aggressor and tries to push off the opposing team out into the open away from the sarcophagus. But, of course, playing with 2 rogues, they can also kind of hide around the corners and try to get those re-stealths off in certain situations.
Yeah, I really want to see if you have the DVR and HD functionality on this stream, take a look at Woundman's opener last round. It was great. He Fana-knives to get Rekful out of stealth, but then immediately blinded him like right after. It was like a split second after he Fana-knifed.
Woundman, great reaction time. And now you still look at it, Woundman's still running that 120 energy versus Rekful with 130, so a little bit of difference in between these 2 rogues. Gates about to open. If Fnatic wants to stay in this series, they're going to have to win this game to pull it out in Game 5 against Complexity, but Complexity definitely going to try to clear it out in this 4th game.
All right, we're going to be following Woundman out of the gate to see if he'll do another start like that. He's going to sprint right away. Trick's already up, looking for his target, which probably going to be the same as last time.
And now he will open on Soda immediately, tries to get that Fana-knives onto Rekful, but he still gets his open onto Doja. Very early Lust, and Yogg caught into that blind. He will get out of that. Now Woundman caught in that deep freeze and being controlled by Venruki like we saw last game. Very early Cloak of Shadows and Vanish coming out from Woundman. He's going to get right back onto Soda, who does get Pain Suppression up. We see a Death Coil out onto Soda, still dropping very low even with Pain Suppression up. As soon as that falls, he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Soda trying to stay out of line of sight as much as he can. 3,000 hit points, full penance right there, and down to 4,000 hit points still. Everything's used. He's in trouble, and he goes down.
I mean, Woundman just went through every single one of his cooldowns in that rushdown onto Soda, and wow, that was just a tough spot for Soda. Venruki had already used his Deep Freeze, and Woundman decided he would go ahead, Cloak of Shadows, vanish. He knew Deep Freeze was down, and just go onto Soda and pull out a win. So it will come down to Game 5. We have these two teams tied up at 2-2. The deciding factor coming down to that very last game. A very quick game there as well, and even in that short time, Woundman and Rekful doing about the same damage.
And one of the things to note with this comp, when Lust is up, Woundman saw an opportunity to get right on top of him, and that's why he blew every single cooldown that he had. I mean, we saw that very early cloak, the very early vanish, and he stuck to his target nonstop.
So, of course, both of these teams having a few minutes to talk things over after the second and fourth games in every series, and this is another one of those moments where you don't look to change comps, but you look at the games you've played. You're sitting tied up 2-2, and it all comes down to this. It's time to fix those little things that are just not going right so far.
Looks like the team of Fnatic is going to go talk over by the pillars over there, which that has been their little base of secret communication going on, which is on the right-hand side in the back on your screen.
So right now, if you're actually joining us on irc.gamesters.net and Pound Arena Cast, I want you to go ahead and post some predictions. We actually haven't gotten any out of the channel just yet, and we'll see what you guys at home are thinking about these two teams at the moment.
So we are taking questions, as usual, from the Ask the Cast thread. Anytime that we do have the teams going off to talk about what they're going to change, since we do allow those teams to have a little time to change any gear that they need to, and any specs, any classes.
And also, if you're new to the MLG scene, we'll go ahead and give you a quick rundown of exactly what is going on here in Anaheim. Of course, we're playing in the 3v3 format. All players are using Season 5 gear and its PvE equivalent. Also, every player is required to use a default UI, meaning no add-ons and no mods. We are playing a best-of-5 series, but we play each and every one of these games out, as in round robin, those may influence the standings in the end. And on Sunday, we will take the top 4 teams and advance into a double elimination bracket.
One of the questions, and also those double elimination bracket is going to end up with 3 teams scoring some money, and of course the first team gets $9,000 plus those 3 Firebirds. Second place gets $4,500. Third place, $2,250. Fourth place doesn't get anything. However, they are playing for points, which will qualify you for the WoW Championship Finals at MLG Orlando early next year.
And now going back to the Ask the Cast thread, who, if anyone, will be the first to beat Czech 6? Do you guys think anyone will score a win over them? SKEU was close.
If there's a team that can do it here, it's tough. I mean, Button Bashers could be the team to do it. You know, they might have that off-the-wall strategy.
You know, I'm going to have to go with it. If anyone's going to do it, they did it in Dallas. Why not do it again here? Button Bashers, the team to watch against Czech 6.
One of the questions that we constantly see on this, on these Ask the Cast threads for every tournament we've done this for so far is people asking how they get into the scene. Look at BHMS. Period. I mean, Complexity brought them here. They're doing great, and because they played in an online tournament.
In 1376, talking about us when we mentioned the scripts, moving that default UI around a little bit. We'll get those exact commands for you, maybe post those up on GotFrag, because I know that's an interesting fact for a lot of these guys. They want to try to play on the same field that we do see these tournament players playing at, and, you know, that's going back to it and waiting for, you know, Blizzard's tournament round to go up again next year, which is honestly one of the most fun times in WoW Arena, because it's just really a lot of new faces and a lot of people doing great and trying out new comps, and it's also a lot of fun just to be able to grab some people and throw something together. All right, and now 1378, a very common question that we have in reference to WoW esports, because it does get a little stale sometimes seeing the same people over and over when you do know there's a lot of great teams out there, but things did change a little bit before Anaheim. We'll go ahead and ask the question, what does a team have to do to pick up a sponsorship in today's WoW? How do we get our names out there to the sponsors?
To sponsors, obviously they're looking for a top-tier team, no problem. So, number one, you have to be the best. So either on your battle group, maybe if your battle group is kind of a smaller one, not very many high-ranked teams playing, get over to BG9. Or if you're on the East Coast, you really like your ping, Stormstrike is another decent choice. So those are probably the two strong battle groups right now for America, and obviously Cyclone in Europe. Not to fuel any flames between the other battle groups, but it's true. Ask any of these players here. They've all been on BG9 before and had the opportunity to play against anyone. Not only that, you need to be diverse in the content you can create. Create videos, write blogs. Don't troll in them, but write blogs. Write about your class, anything like that. You get your name out, it's going to attract people.
And also, if you're unaware, before Anaheim, we actually had the opportunity to do the MLG Wildcard Tournament, which Ryan Moore, the head admin, the director of the World of Warcraft PC tournament, was able to get a few new teams in there and let them duke it out round-robin style in a tournament. And we actually got BHMS through that to come to the tournament. And a big shout-out to Complexity, who actually sponsored those guys and got them out here in Anaheim. And that's a great thing for WoW as an esport.
And Complexity has to be happy with their choice. I mean, this team is doing great as being a new team. And I think there was a question up a little bit. That was a really good question. Oh yeah, the UI question. This UI, we have lots of questions about it. This is actually a custom UI mod that Blizzard has created, which only works right here, basically. And so these players are all using default UI, like we said. I mean, if we get a picture of an in-game view eventually from a player, whether if there's a camera nearby or what, you'll see that they use exactly how WoW would be right when you install it.
All right, Ring of Valor going to be the deciding factor in this series between Fnatic and Complexity. It all comes down to this, and now it works both ways. We've been seeing Fnatic putting a lot of pressure on the Soda, and it can turn around the same way. Complexity putting a lot of pressure on the Doja. Ring of Valor, well known for not having a lot of room to run.
No, not at all. The last time that these guys did face in this matchup on this map, Doja died pretty quickly when they swapped onto him. However, Yogg trying to pull out the solo win, they scored a kill onto Rekful, but Venruki was just completely controlling him.
This is going to be a very fast-paced match, and it's really to Wooman and Rekful who gets the better opener and just puts out a bunch of pressure. And I do expect Doja to come out bloodlusting very quickly, and they just want to start with momentum and continue it on. And I do think they're going to stick with staying on Soda. It's worked before, and maybe they'll just go with what they did in the one match when Woundman just basically burns through cooldowns and rushes down Soda, even through pain suppression.
Venruki's been doing a great job with the crowd control. We'll take a look at him for this match.
All right, here we go. Gates at the top water. Already out. Rank 1 Frostbolt going across. It will be grounded. And now we see an early deep freeze on the Woundman and a blind on the Doja. Going to break that immediately. In comes the polymorph on the Woundman, but he's going to go ahead and vanish that. And now look at the damage on the Yogg, dropping very low, but it looks like they're actually going to go into Rekful at the beginning as he's caught in that kidney shot. But still, now there we go on to Soda. You see that UA haunt going up. Big fear on the Woundman, though. And now he's going to vanish. He's burning through cooldowns very quickly. There's the pain suppression. Soda down to 8,000 HP. Can they put him down while inside of that pain suppression? Y'all caught into a kidney shot. Going to trinket that. Pain suppression has fell, and dots still are ticking onto Soda.
Venruki immediately trinket that hex that he needed to so he could keep his healer alive. Soda doing a great job right now.
And you see, there's that control on the Woundman. He's not going to have a lot to deal with getting out. And now you see it, another poly onto him, and Soda is just going to get away. Wow, and you see that Manatide position way over there as, the Doja wants to try to get that full tick off. And now it's kind of slowing down a little bit, but Woundman's going to be the one out of cooldowns, and you see him feared and just being controlled this entire time. Now some damage coming out from Soda onto Yogg. Actually, Yogg going down to 8,000 HP, 3,000 HP. Doja in a seep, and down goes Yogg. And it looks like even a mind control to follow that onto Doja. That's going to be cleaned up. Woundman going to stick it out and try to put down Rekful, but going to be unable to do it. That's going to conclude the series. Complexity beating Fnatic 3-2.
Excellent play by Soda right there at the end. He saw Doja standing right next to the Tremor Totem, had a mid-jump fear, and then meleeed the Tremor Totem on the way down. And then he was followed by a Sheep from Venruki and a Mind Control straight after.
Our next series will be between SKUS and EG. Two teams kind of struggling throughout this tournament so far, and we're coming down to the wire. If they want to make it to top 4, they need to start cleaning up series and winning it from here on out. But first, we're going to take a short commercial break here live in Anaheim for the 2009 Major League Gaming PC circuit played on HP.